Welcome back to the video on the channel. In this one I'm going to be previewing and giving my predictions for the US Open men's semi-finals. In a separate video I will also be doing my women's preview and predictions, so if you are interested in the women's tournament then do check that out. So one side of the draw is certainly going to plan. I think a lot of people would have predicted the semi-final between Dominic Thiem and Daniel Medvedev. The other side of the draw is certainly not going to plan. I think I predicted myself Stefanos Tsitsipas against Novak Djokovic to be in the semi-final. I think Djokovic everybody thought was a certainty, but it hasn't proved to be the case. We have Alexander Zverev against Pablo Carreno Busta, and whoever wins this event will win their first Grand Slam title, which is obviously fantastic for them and the future of the sport. So kicking things off with that match between Zverev and Carreno Busta, I think both semi-finals are pretty much 50-50s. They're difficult to predict when you have Carreno Busta, who looked to be out on his feet in that fourth set between against Shapovalov, in which he lost 6-love, to then bounce back, find his second win and take the deciding set, which comes to a massive surprise to Shapovalov. And also Daniel Medvedev, who struggled last night with a shoulder injury towards the back end of the third set, appeared to be struggling with cramp as well, so you don't really know how these players are feeling physically. They don't always reach the latter stages of Grand Slams, so how have they managed the body during these events we just don't know. They've also been off for a long time, haven't played Grand Slam tennis since January, so I'm sure all four of them have got little niggles, but I'm just going to go off what I've seen so far this tournament and give sort of my previews and how I think the matches will go and give me predictions. Carreno Busta, I think, doesn't get the credit he deserves. I've said this for a long time. He's a player similar to Bautista Agut, his Spanish compatriot, that a lot of people think, if it wasn't for clay court events, these players wouldn't be top 30. But if you look at Carreno Busta's career, he's won titles on hard court in the past. He's reached this US Open semi-final in 2017. He's reached a semi-final again, and I think a lot of people think he's had a walk over this event due to the disqualification of Djokovic, but I said in my video the other day, you've got to remember that he was leading Djokovic in that quarter final. He was serving for the opening set, and I'm not saying he would have went to win the match. Djokovic still would have been a huge favourite to turn that one round, but he more than matched Djokovic from an opening 11 games. He fought off 3 set points for Djokovic. He then broke Djokovic. He played big time tennis. He found the lines when he needed to. Against Shapovalov, a lot of people predicted Shapovalov winning that one. A young up-and-coming superstar who looked almost unbeatable. Got that lefty serve, single-handed backhand, hits winner after winner. And Carreno Busta used experience in that one. He had fantastic defence. He's a great mover. He kept making Shapovalov play the extra shot. He mixed it well between attack and defence. I think he's a very clever player, very underrated. And then on the other hand, you've got Alexander Zverev, who came through a good few years ago now and promised to be the next big thing. Everyone tipped him to be the next Grand Slam champion, and he's yet to really deliver at a Grand Slam stage. But this year, you've got to say he's done very well. He reached a semi-final of the Australian Open, and then he's reached a semi-final of the US. He'll want a title to show for it, and I'm sure he'll be expecting to reach the final of a Grand Slam. He's probably not gonna get a better chance. He'd have been expecting to face Djokovic. But this, as I say, it's very close, a very close match. Both players obviously playing very, very well. For me, I am going to edge towards Carreno Busta, and that might be risky due to the fact he did look out on his feet in that fourth set against Shapovalov, but seemed to recover well enough to win the fifth. But I just think for Carreno Busta, he's a better all-round player and he makes less errors. As I say, I think he's a great mover. He's got a fantastic defence, good switch-ups, solid on forehand and backhanding. I think he mixes defence and attack very well. I have been impressed with Zverev so far. I thought he looked very good, encouraged. He played, very solid tennis. He found his serve and his forehand where he needed it most in that match, winning 2 tie breaks. He also managed to problem solve very well against Adrian Mannarino in the round previous. Mannarino, as we know, takes pace off the ball. He's got different switch-ups. And after Mannarino took that open set, it looked like it was going to be a long night for Zverev, but Zverev ended up hitting through the defence of Mannarino, which is more impressive, and I think he's a player that will improve with experience and maturity. But for me at this stage of the career, I just can't get away from the fact Zverev can just have lulls. His forehand is still vulnerable for me. It's very hit and miss. One game you'll find 4 lines and win the game within a minute, and the next one he'll miss long or wide. And against Carreno Busta, I just think Carreno Busta is very, very solid. He doesn't make a run of unforced errors. He doesn't give his serve away. And Zverev, he's obviously hit so many double faults in this event so far. I think he had 12 or 13 the other day. He's very vulnerable his second serve, and if he has a bad serving day, or the forehand isn't quite timed well from the off, I do think Carreno Busta can get a lead. And I just think Carreno Busta's more solid pick. I just think forehand and backhand, they might not be as powerful, and as he might not hit as many clean winners as Sasha's during the match, but I just think the unforced error count for Carreno Busta will be a lot lower than Zverev's. And I think in a 5-set semi-final, when the nerves are perhaps going to kick in, I would just expect Carreno Busta to wear Zverev down more than anything in forced errors. So I'm going to tip Carreno Busta to reach his first ever Grand Slam final. On the other hand, I think this has the potential to be, an absolute barnstormer of a match between Medvedev and Dominic Thiem. I think, Medvedev reached the final of this event last year. He'll be wanting to avenge that defeat. Obviously, he got a bit of Rafa in the final, and I think out of all the players outside the top three, and probably Dominic Thiem for me, I think Medvedev's certainly the one that looks most likely to win a Grand Slam tournament. And I watched his match last night, doing live commentary, and I must say he's not the most exciting player to watch. It's not to say I don't enjoy watching Medvedev. I think he's a great guy off court, and he's interesting to watch on court. He's fascinating. As I say, he's probably not the most exciting. He doesn't hit the most amount of clean winners, but you've got to give him his consistency, his efficiency. His all-round game is absolutely, a top draw. And other than Djokovic, I think he's probably one of the most consistent players in the world. Never really looks like making unforced errors. He very rarely misses. And when he gets in the zone, once he leads, I think he's a very, very good front runner. And last night against Rublev, I think Rublev had 3 set points in the opening set and tiebreak. Medvedev just never gave up, just kept fighting and fighting. Eventually took the break rate 6, and the ranking was sort of on the wall from then. Rublev never got a look in on the Medvedev serve. I don't think he crafted a break point all night. Medvedev's first serve is not the most powerful, but he just switches it up, wide to tee, backs it up always with the big first shot, and he's just very, very hard to break down. His defence doesn't break, doesn't make any unforced errors. If he goes 15-30 down in his service games, he always seems to find that big first serve or big forehand to fend off the danger, and Rublev just grew more and more frustrated. And you have to give him that to Medvedev. As I say, he might not be the most exciting, but yeah, the unforced error count very rarely creeps up with Medvedev, and he's just so consistent, just hits in the back of the court and just waits for the error. I must say, on the run, he is one of the best players in the world. He's double-handed backhand and his forehands down the line are quite incredible. And against a player with pace on the ball, I think they're probably better against Medvedev, someone who moves him round, because on the run, I think he's quite deceiving. He's a big, big guy, but he's a great mover, and the way he slaps the forehands back cross court are very, very impressive. And yeah, he's a player that I think is certainly going to be a Grand Slam champion. He's just got the consistent game style that you need at a very early age. But for me, he's up against a player that I think he never deserve a Grand Slam title, but Thiem, I think it would be cruel if he didn't win a Grand Slam title in the next couple of years. He's just been playing consistently fantastic tennis, and to me, he struck me as a player last night that thinks this is the best opportunity I'm going to get for a good few years. Without Djokovic, without Rafa, without Roger Federer. Dominic Thiem probably sees himself as a favourite now. He's the most experienced player in the draw. He's beaten them 3 Grand Slam finals in the past, and yeah, Thiem looked last night that he was very aggressive against Alex de Minaur. He knew he was the better player on the court, and he really sensed that and stamped his authority on the match from the early stage. But the way Thiem's striking the ball, particularly on the backhand side, he's returning from deep, getting into rallies. The forehand looks very good. He's moving well, good at the net, and his all-round game for Dominic Thiem has looked so strong. There's very few vulnerabilities in his game at the moment. The way he's striking the ball so cleanly with so much power from the back of the court is so good, and I think I'm going to tip Dominic Thiem to win this one, and I think his return position will be key. You know, he's been returning from 10, 12 foot behind the baseline. I think at one point he was almost in line with the ball boys against Ball Courage of the day to get that serve back, and also auger-aliassime. You know, he really negated auger-aliassime's first serve. I think that could be another thing today in that match tomorrow against Medvedev. If he returns from deep, managed to get the balls back in court and gets into long rallies with Medvedev. I do think Thiem has the ability to out-hit Medvedev. You know, I did say Medvedev was good on the run, backing into the corners, but Thiem's is striking the ball so well. You know, I think if Thiem starts hitting the backhands and forehands down the line, I'm not sure as anybody in the world can really cope with the striking ability of Dominic Thiem. You know, he follows it in, he moves into the court. He's a good volley around the net. And I just think Thiem might pack the first punch in rallies. You know, Medvedev seems to be not negative, because whatever he's done, it certainly works, but he doesn't like to take the first risk in a rally, whereas Dominic Thiem does, and Dominic Thiem's risk usually plays off. You know, the way he's striking the ball. If he gets a short ball from Medvedev, I'm sure he'll take it on, and I wouldn't be backing him to not hit that shot with the way he's been playing this week. I just think Thiem has a little bit more risk to his game in the heavier ground strokes and back of the court, but Medvedev is ultra consistent. You know, Thiem has in the past had problems with his forehand and his second serve, which have seen him be broken a number of times. With Medvedev, I don't really see that. I think Medvedev's serve is absolutely rock solid. Performs under pressure, and this is literally a complete 50-50. I mean, I'm saying Dominic Thiem, I think he'll win the match. I think it'll go 5 sets, and it'll probably be an absolute war of attrition. Such a physical battle. Both players are capable of rallying and playing 30-40 shot rallies. Both got fantastic defences, great movers, and yeah, it's just going to be a fantastic match. It's very, very tough to predict, but I do see the final being Carreno Busta against Dominic Thiem, but both matches going 4 or 5 sets. It's very strange for me watching a Grand Slam without Djokovic, Nadal and Federer at the business end. Probably the first one I've watched in a good 8 to 10 years without one of them three being in the semi-finals. But yeah, massively looking forward to both semi-finals. Just to reiterate, my picks are Thiem and Carreno Busta. Let me know in the comments below what you think will happen in the semi-finals. As I say, I will also be predicting the women's semi-finals in a separate video, so do check it out. But please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.